midnight, December 31st, 1998. In the basement vaults of the Banque de France, engravers are destroying the plates used to print the franc. Not storing them, not archiving them, destroying them. The franc had survived 2 world wars, the fall of an empire, 5 republics, and on this night, technicians are feeding its blueprints into industrial shredders. Across 11 nations, the same ritual is unfolding. The mark, the lira, the peseta, the guilder, currencies that had defined national identity for generations, reduced to scrap metal and pulp paper in a single coordinated act. By morning, 300 million people would wake up to a currency that didn't yet exist in physical form. A currency with no country, no history, no face. They called it the euro. This story starts in 1992 in a hotel room in Wales, where George Soros is about to break a country. Britain had tied the pound to other European currencies, a system designed to create stability. But Soros saw what politicians didn't. The pound was overvalued. Britain's economy couldn't sustain it. So, Soros made a $10 billion bet against Britain. On September 16th, Black Wednesday, the British government spent £27 billion trying to prop up their currency. They raised interest rates to 15%. The Prime Minister went on television. None of it worked. By evening, Britain surrendered. The pound crashed. Soros made over $1 billion. And in Brussels, European leaders realized something fundamental. As long as each nation controlled its own currency, any one of them could be picked off, isolated, attacked, broken. The only defense was to eliminate the weakness itself. But to understand why, you have to understand what Europe looked like before. It was economic chaos. The German mark was strong, backed by the Bundesbank's obsession with controlling inflation. When Germany raised interest rates to fight inflation, money flooded into marks. France had to raise its rates to prevent capital flight, which slowed its economy, which increased its unemployment. Italy was worse. The lira collapsed constantly. In 1992 alone, it lost 25% of its value. Italian companies couldn't make long-term contracts. No one knew what the lira would be worth in 6 months. Every border in Europe was a financial checkpoint. Every transaction carried risk, exchange rates, conversion fees, the possibility that the currency you were paid in would be worth less by the time you received it. Europe was supposed to be a single market, but it was 12 economies in 12 different currencies, pulling in 12 different directions. And then Soros proved just how fragile it all was. European leaders made a radical decision. The only way to eliminate currency crises was to eliminate currencies. But here's what they didn't say publicly. A single currency requires a single central bank. One institution setting interest rates for over 300 million people. One size fits all. The architects knew this was a problem. Economists warned that you couldn't have monetary union without fiscal union, without shared budgets, shared debt, shared responsibility. Germany couldn't have the same interest rate as Greece unless German taxpayers were willing to subsidize Greek spending. The United States could do it because when Michigan struggled, federal spending helped. Money flowed from rich states to poor states automatically. But Europe had none of that. No shared budget big enough to matter. No labor mobility. No automatic transfers. And absolutely no appetite for political union. So they built half a house. They created a currency union without a political union. A central bank without a central government. They gambled that prosperity would smooth over the contradictions. They gambled wrong. January 1st, 1999, the euro becomes legal tender in 11 countries. Not as coins or bills, those would take 3 more years, but as numbers on screens. For businesses, it's a revolution. No exchange fees, no currency risk. But for ordinary people, nothing feels different yet. They're still using francs and marks and liras. And almost immediately, problems emerge. The 11 economies are in completely different situations. Germany is in recession. Ireland's economy is exploding. Spain's housing market is taking off. Italy's debt is already too high. One central bank, one interest rate, 4 completely different needs. And then the euro starts crashing. It launches at $1.13. Within months, it's sliding $1.95. By October 2000, it hits 82 cents. The brand new currency has lost nearly 30% of its value. The ECB panics and intervenes in currency markets. It's humiliating, but the structural problems are showing. Germany's economy is weak, so the ECB keeps rates low, which is exactly what Ireland and Spain don't need. In Dublin and Madrid, property prices are soaring. Banks are lending to anyone. With interest rates designed for Germany's sick economy, credit is practically free. The bubble is inflating, and the ECB can't stop it. If they raise rates to cool down Ireland and Spain, they'll kill Germany's recovery. One size fits all means one size fits none. And then there's Greece. Greece is desperate to join the euro. But Greece doesn't meet the criteria. The deficit is too high. The debt is too high. So Greece lies. With help from Goldman Sachs, Greece hides the true size of its debt. European officials suspect something's wrong, but they want Greece in. It's symbolic, so they look the other way. The lie won't be revealed for 9 more years. But when it is, it will nearly destroy everything. Meanwhile, Germany is winning. The euro is much cheaper than the mark would have been. German exports become competitive again. Orders pour in. The trade surplus grows. Germany is winning because the euro is weak. The southern countries are suffering because the euro is stronger than their old currencies would have been. And there's no mechanism to balance it out. The imbalances compound. Germany gets more competitive. Spain borrows more. The euro makes both trends possible and makes both trends irreversible. January 1st, 2002, at midnight, automatic teller machines begin dispensing euro banknotes for the first time. In Paris, a woman withdraws a 20 euro note. No, Marianne, no symbol of the Republic, just bridges and doorways that don't exist anywhere. Generic European architecture designed to belong to no place in particular. In Frankfurt, an elderly man buys his newspaper with a euro coin. One side shows an eagle, the other shows a map of Europe, 2 identities on one piece of metal. In Rome, shopkeepers frantically convert prices. A coffee that cost 1,200 lira now costs 60 cents. Everything feels wrong. By the end of January, 6 billion banknotes are in circulation, 15 billion coins. The largest currency changeover in human history, executed in 8 weeks. And somehow, impossibly, it works. People adapt. The euro becomes real because people choose to treat it as real. But underneath the surface, the contradictions remain. Germany is booming. Spain's bubble keeps expanding. Greece's lies stay buried. The reckoning is only postponed. Today, the euro is the second most used currency in the world. 350 million people across 20 countries use it daily. It survived the debt crisis that nearly tore it apart, survived the pandemic, survived predictions of collapse, and yet it still isn't finished. The question that haunted its birth, can you have a shared currency without a shared government, ever went away. Every crisis reveals the same fault line. When one country struggles, who pays? When one economy booms and another crashes, who decides? The problems visible in 1999 are still there. The one-size-fits-all interest rate, the lack of fiscal transfers, the imbalances between strong and weak economies. The fundamental architecture remains incomplete. In the vault beneath Frankfurt, the European Central Bank stores emergency reserves, billions of euros, ready to deploy if the system ever crashes. They call it the vault of last resort. But the real reserves aren't in Frankfurt. They're in the morning transaction at a bakery in Portugal, the rent payment in Belgium, the salary deposited in Slovenia. 350 million daily acts of faith in something that only exists because people agree it does. That's not economics. That's a bet on a future no one can guarantee. Because the euro isn't just a currency. It's a question Europe asks itself every single day. Do we still believe? And so far, despite everything, the answer keeps coming back. Yes,